this edition of Silicon Grapevine. Today, my guest is Chris Walker, CEO of Untether AI, and he's became CEO at the beginning of 2024, but it's been come there out of retirement after about 30 years at Intel, where he has been since interning there after Carnegie Mellon. So, Chris, hello, how are you?
Hey, Nin, fantastic to be with you, and love the podcast, love the format.
Great. Well, thank you. So let's start with the beginning. You're CEO of a company called Untether AI. Most E-Times readers will know about Untether AI because my colleagues have written lots about you. But just tell us, for a broader audience as well, because we go further afield. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Yeah, so Untether AI is a relatively young startup, about 5 years. We're based and headquartered in Toronto, Canada. And for us, we're about the application of AI and what many people call inference. So we want to run AI workloads more effectively and efficiently. And, really it was founded on the notion of, the application of traditional GPU-based architectures that have driven, this AI to the forefront so far, have some inherent limitations that we think we can solve both hardware and software to help enable companies to run their AI workloads smarter, more accurately, with much better energy efficiency. And we see that as kind of a paramount as AI becomes into this mass deployment, that the energy efficiency becomes very, very important for both ecological reasons, cost effectiveness reasons, and in some cases, form factors of being able to put this kind of capability in places that wasn't possible before. So that's kind of our mission, is to help people run their networks, run their AI applications better.
And then, so who would be your typical customers? Because I think we were talking when it's about sort of providing some specific solutions that require AI or sort of that sort of acceleration.
And so we have a range of customer engagements that go from really in-depth vision analytics. So people are trying to make cities smarter with traffic analysis and video more real time. Folks who are doing autonomous vehicles, right? Long lead, where combination of higher levels of autonomous driving needs a level of capability that isn't in the market today. And in other cases, it's customers who are doing the next level of manufacturing and deep inspection and multiple models and signal processing together. We help people do things at a level of accuracy and fidelity with speed that they couldn't achieve otherwise. And so that's really about efficiency, speeding up workflows, either helping people save money, make traffic corners safer, or increase their capability on a manufacturing floor.
So your customers will be the system integrators and people who will be sort of deploying boards and solutions to enable all of this and software.
We sell at a chip and a card level to help people integrate into standard customer standard form factors.
Right. Okay. Okay. And the company, I think, is pretty young, as you said. How many people are there?
We're about 170 across, mostly here in Toronto, Silicon Valley, other places in North America, and software team, extended software team in India as well.
Okay. Now, you came out of retirement, so we'll go into your journey in a little bit. But what made you come out of retirement? I mean, maybe sailing, which is one of your passions, which you come to later. But you're drinking wine. Why leave that life?
Californian, yeah. For me, in my career, I'd seen a few different inflection points across computing and business models. And for me, what I see in AI, what I saw on Untether, is ability for three things to converge all at once. These are kind of big, once in a career generational shifts, but now there's three opportunities that are all happening together. One is, the movement of workloads to AI. And that's both on the underlying workload. In some cases, you can look at the interface with things like language models, being really transformative for how people engage with computing or what computing can do for them. At the same time, it's a big moment of architectural change, the ability and the need for the architecture to really be optimized for those workloads to not only run them faster, but to save energy. And that, if we're going to deploy AI at scale, be it in data centers or, at the edge, that energy efficiency really comes to the forefront. And the third is there's a change in business models too. There's an opportunity between, what's happening in open source in the models to what I'm really excited about is seeing more opportunity with chiplets, something that, I knew quite a bit about from building products in my prior career, to now seeing this being opened up and having, an ecosystem of players being able to come together to optimize solutions and package. And, we're a member of things like UCIe, which some of your readers or, listeners will be all about. And so I really see that as a forefront of enabling a new level of, partnership, silicon delivery that I think fits quite well with our focus as an AI accelerator. All that is now in one place. And that's, for me, quite a unique thing to be part of that technology transformation and business transformation. And that was very compelling and, great opportunity at Untether AI to really be in the middle of that and be driving things forward.
And I think all those points you actually did sort of mention to my colleague in an interview which he published in E-Times earlier this year. So you can get to that if you want to. But the things that's quite interesting is it doesn't look like just coming totally out of retirement. You were consulting for a while, so you saw the opportunity as you were gradually working with them.
Absolutely saw the potential. Started working with the company in summer of last year. Really, kind of came in, last year to work on the commercial side of the business, and then had the opportunity and a good inflection point for us as we have new silicon coming in. That there's that excitement when you're doing your second generation product, and it's we're doing all the dry runs in the lab now, getting ready for it to kind of come in, and the power on activities, all that excitement's building. Great inflection point for us to look at our focus, our business model, and how we get to scale.
Well, talking of excitement,
career has always been about opportunity and scale and growth, and for me and for the company is a great time to make that transition.
Okay, well, talking of excitement, let's go way back to the early 1990s. You're a young chap at Carnegie Mellon, and you get this internship at Intel, and then they offer you a job, and it's a job for life. So tell us about that, how that all happened.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those unusual where, wow, you're at one place for your whole, for most of your whole career. But for me, along the way, it was actually multiple careers, multiple jobs and journeys. And I actually came out of school into Intel in kind of with a production operations research background. So I started in manufacturing, and that was a lot of fun. You learned a lot about silicon manufacturing and operations, but with an eye towards customer. Right, a lot of it was about we did some very specialized products. How do you make that real for customers in pretty demanding applications and requirements? I saw more, right? I wanted to blend, more business, and my passion's always been for a combination of operations, technology, and business. So I went into finance at Intel. Things like that were pretty cool to learn the operational side, but most importantly, it brought me to Asia. And, as that was the hotbed, that was a growth, had the opportunity to live and work throughout Asia, specifically in Hong Kong, and saw that region grow and helped it grow on the business side for the first time to over $1 billion in revenue, right? So these are big momentous things if you think back all that time.
What period was that? Was that early 2000s or
late 90s?
Late 90s. Okay, yeah,
right. Yeah. Being in Hong Kong for things like the handover, I mean, just a perspective of being in China back in the in the mid early 90s and different perspective
Mm.
of where, you know, the PC business was at that time, right?
Mm.
The data center or server business was at that time. And so really, grew a lot of relationships, both business and personal, throughout Asia, with customers in China, in Taiwan, in Korea, in Japan. And that was really formative for me about looking at different approaches to technology and technology development, how you partner to get things done in an ecosystem. And that was really formative for how I approached, the coming years, where I was very involved in everything from, strategy around our capacity and roadmap and architectures to eventually leading, our desktop business in a time of transformation. And then ultimately, as I wrapped up my career at Intel, leading our mobile group through both the time of transformation and, leading large and small businesses to growth. So that all kind of was an amazing opportunity to be able to do technology, business, and the convergence of it in one place, but in so many different, domains, from growth to rebuild, to just new ways of partnering, was really, really special. And not many places you can do all that in one spot.
Well, previous guest Daniel Cooley on he also talked about the how Asia sort of culturally sort of got into think about lots of other things. I guess there's some similar thread here where you're sort of like understanding a lot more than just sort of U.S. Western hemisphere type
Right.
thinking into business and engineering, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's both the approach to knowing that the interdependency is of different technologies and how they're put together, and not seeing things as a supply chain, but seeing things as technology value add, and how you can rally and you can co-optimize and co-develop with partners, both in hardware and software. And, those are things that, made the PC grow, made that ecosystem thrive and vibrant, and, come back from the dead, what, 5, 6 times now? So those are always the lessons learned about, when you have the passion for innovation, when you have the passion for, working towards a solution that impacts people's lives, that, business continues to grow, no matter what the, macroeconomic or technology conditions or competitive conditions are.
One of the things I think we talked about in our sort of chat previously was around sort of things you've learned over the years at Intel and mentors. Tell me a little bit about what you really valued from that in terms of that learning experience.
Yeah, there's a few. And so one of the earlier roles in my career was I kind of ran our strategic planning around our roadmap and capacity planning for the fab network, and long range forecasting. That was everything from how many wafers we're going to need in time, to what the P&L looked like over 4 or 5 years, where that was intertwined. And that was really formative for a couple of reasons. One is I got to work with some very, very talented Intel architects and fellows. That was very formative in how we thought about the opportunities for new technologies in microprocessors and how they could scale, that interaction in a roadmap. At the same time, you're presenting that very formatively to Andy Grove and Craig Barrett, where you got the the master class of education about strategic thinking, risk taking, right? When you had to make these naked bets of multi years out of, you're going to build the fabs or not, right? Those types of things, and how you think through that, how you drive execution to the roadmap once you create it. That across mentorship with some key architects, the ability to be kind of in the room and part of those discussions for how you plan a future of a company like Intel, just truly amazing. And then as I went forward and took on more product and business leadership roles, really had the opportunity to work some very talented, executives, some on the sales and marketing side, Sean Maloney was very formative for me, and others about really looking through, one, that lens of how you partnered, how you worked with others in Asia, as an example, uh, to thinking about as what does win-win truly mean in both technology development and in business development, and that was very key when you think about your what impact your technology has on a market, has as an impact to another customer, and the reliance that you develop. And it's easy to think, okay, this is a really big company, really big level when you're kind of the 800-pound gorilla, that the term that used to have. But I think it equally applies to how you apply to a startup like I'm in today, both in terms of how you participate in technology development with fellow travelers, and also how you take on an 800-pound gorilla, so to speak. So that's an interesting compare contrast to having been on the large side and now being on the small side of a market environment that seeing how success is driven.
One of the things I think I find quite fascinating on these interviews is how people have been working with big names or are big names themselves. And you mentioned Andy Grove and Craig Barrett, but I mean, was there something special when you think back on it? The working with people like that, is there something that you feel, wow, I really did that with him or her?
Well, I think that the one that you learn ingrained is that that passion for intellectual honesty, for analytics, right? But being able to see through not just data, but the bigger picture on strategy. That was pretty formative. I think the wow factors, for me, were things like in desktop, when I had the opportunity to lead our desktop product line at a time when we pivoted from to more of a mobile architecture, and thinking about what that meant about the hardware, the process technology, but driving a new value vector for something like the storied old desktop in a hotly competitive environment, right? So at that time in Intel, the architecture team did a masterful job of coming up with back in the day, his code name was Conrad Marome, very old, going way back. But now, how do you apply that in desktop, where it was a separate mindset of frequency based, high power, high performance, right? Having that pivot in the go to market, driving innovation, and creating ecosystems and alliances for not just the benefit of your company, but the benefit of other companies. I mean, that was kind of the master class, so to speak, is to work in the ODM community on how innovation happened, how to influence it, and how to co-optimize together. That's something I carried through in different levels, all the way through to kind of my last role, which was in notebooks, driving something like an innovation alliance, or what became the Evo brand.
Mm.
That's really something about understanding hardware, software, and engineering together, that was very formative and had a material impact to the end product and how people use it every day. So that one is, particularly proud of, and that was something really focused on, thinking about how we use engineering, how we optimize software for a hardware platform, and really seeing that as a deliverable.
But I think you partly answered this already, but in sort of that previous answer. But what do you feel have been your greatest achievements in both personal and professional
Yeah, I think there's
to date? To date,
throughout to date, yeah, there's more to come. One of the big ones is throughout my career, kind of, some people will call them like the smoke jumper, right? You jumped into a challenge, you sorted out very rapid fire, and had that opportunity to do that at Intel, with everything from how do you help a region like Asia Pacific grow and put in, the processes and the sales tools to do that, to things like, had the benefit of, doing projects like some of the early forays of Intel into graphics, not all of them successful, tons of learning on the architecture level, tons of learnings on how you partner to do very deep business and product development. Those are things, how we dealt with different memory technologies at different points of time. I can go all the way back to when we integrated SRAM into the processor, and how we value that, how we work through memory transitions like with Rambus, right? All those were super exciting and informative. Now those are a little bit older. I think one of the very cool things I did in the mobile group, in addition to growing a business and you can put big numbers around it, it was really about creating focus on the product and features and how it actually impacted people's lives, that actually helped drive better use cases for the PC. Particularly proud of, wired and wireless connectivity, growing those businesses, both in terms of impact of, becoming leaders in Wi-Fi, becoming leaders in Thunderbolt at scale, and changing whole ecosystems around that. And then that culminated in a platform approach that we took. I referenced, this Evo platform, really bringing that together with, if you think about it, 150 odd different companies had to come together to make that laptops better. And then how you do the sales and marketing and branding. First and foremost, it was about customer facing technology and industry technology. That to me was very special. That's something when I think about, startup, and when I think about the opportunity in AI with Untether, is to really think of it as, this co-optimization of software and the underlying hardware and architecture, and how that can now be delivered out into partners, and things like UCIe, and we're part of that and join that from an early stage. These are things I think are transformative for how technology gets delivered, how AI is going to become real in many different applications where, people want alternatives to the incumbent solution today.
I was going to come to that later, but I think I'll come to it now because I was going to talk about your sailing. But coming to that, obviously, there's been quite a significant hype cycle, especially because of the generative AI. But where are we going in the next couple of years with AI, especially in the context of where you fit in?
Yeah, and I think there's been great hype, but for good reason, on generative AI, and that's captured a lot of the attention. And that's one of those, big seismic shifts about, the human machine interface with some of the language models, and the underpinning computational capability. For us, what I see is what's going to be on top of that is is now the movement to deploying those models, deploying AI to the edge. In some cases, it will be language models at scale in enterprise and in infrastructure. But in many cases where we're focused, we can deliver for that. But where we're focused right now with our next generation product is how AI will be used in vision and analytics to help industries go faster, in the future of autonomous vehicles, for it to be more accurate, higher performing, to bring in different layers of real world interpretation. And for us, we think that's that next wave of AI, is that inference deployment more broadly. That requires efficiency. That requires an attention to what the energy consumption is, both for lowering power, lower cooling costs. It's amazing to think about how much water is used in data centers, right? And your query of 20 queries, does that consume half a liter of water and cooling in the data center, right? How do we impact that for both the environmental benefits, but also the operational efficiency? Because we won't be able to deploy and use these tools broadly if we're using traditional compute mechanisms that burn too much power inefficiently.
I've been writing about things like smart cities and IoT for many years, but maybe one of the things that might come out of this over the next couple of years, and I'd like your opinion on it, is real smarter cities. And I say that as an example, having been in India just recently, and it was pointed out to me when I was walking in some area where there was cars parked and there were sort of cameras, and they said that it'll analyze if you're making a parking offense and send you a ticket to your mobile straight away, which you have to pay using UPI, which is a electronic payment system. Like in China, they have WePay. So is that smart city thing going to be accelerated with some of the stuff that companies like yourself are doing?
I think the opportunities to accelerate less about ticketing you and more about safety. Do we analyze that the people in the cars in an intersection and be able to coordinate traffic better, as an example, or light time, right? All that can be done more real time at the edge than relying on latency of going to the cloud, as an example. Or if someone's in a manufacturing line, can they run it faster? Could recycling be done faster with higher degree of object detection to sort things? Those are the types of benefits I'll see. The level of capability is there. Some of it's there today, but it might not be at the fidelity or accuracy that enables you to do it faster or more effectively. And so I think those are the opportunities where the deployment of AI help make things in everyday use cases or an industry run at a speed and effectiveness that traditional compute isn't quite there yet to do, and that's been a big focus of how we've taken our architecture approach.
Going to change tack a little bit. Your interests, and obviously family is a big part of it, but you've been sailing for a while, for pretty much all your life, and you're an avid sailor. You go in races. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got into that and what your exploits.
Born and growing up in Florida. I was on a boat before I could walk, right? So, naturally was fortunate enough to grow up in that kind of environment where, it was all on the water, and it's always been a part of it. And that's something I've kind of carried with me no matter where I've lived, is that ability to, sail and be engaged. And for me, it's very analogous to what I see in business. It's sailing is a technical pursuit, right? It requires, intense, attention to make the boat go fast. But most importantly, and this is, really cool, I've been able to do a transatlantic. I've done a race from San Francisco to Hawaii. I think it's a perfect analogy for what I feel in business, especially in a startup like Untether AI is. It's about teamwork. You go into an environment, in this case a boat, with a set of people, some some you don't, who have different skills. Nobody can work in isolation, or you're all in it together. And to get the team to perform, you kind of have to be aware of what all the other parts are doing. But most importantly, you got to have focus. The other piece of it that I think is, from my experience is, the ocean, like a market, especially a market as big as AI, is vast, is much bigger than you or your company for sure, and it's unpredictable. Most thrilling and exciting and fastest I've ever sailed has been in the most challenging, uncomfortable conditions, and I think that is both the true test of self, with teamwork, but also when you get it going. And you're surfing a 50-foot boat down a 20-foot wave, hitting your max speeds. That's thrilling. It's also a little scary. It feels like that. It feels like being at the helm of a startup in a dynamic area like AI. But you go the fastest, you have the most fun, and things that are sometimes very, very, very stormy or very very challenging. And that's the key. You got to navigate. You got to pull together as a team, and that's really the cool part.
Well, it's interesting because there's an expression about being thrown in at the deep end, and I worked in a lot of startups where you get thrown in at the deep end. You have to create something, and now the metaphor being thrown in at the deep end and sailing actually is making me sort of play all kinds of images in my mind in sailing as well, thrown in at the deep end in the ocean.
Exactly, exactly. And so, it's that for me has always just been just the excitement of being out there and looking and navigating environments, right? And adapting and driving. And that, it's just, it's cool that you can do that on a daily basis in business and on the weekends on the water.
So now you're into a startup. Do you get time to still go sail, or you do try and make time?
It's one of those make times. It's I can tell you, like in the summer we had kind of our championship on in San Francisco Bay, and on the way to the boat was doing calls, and uh, was able to sail for a few hours, and then go back on calls at night. But it's especially in leading a company like Untether, it's a full time passion, it's a full time commitment. Day or two, a weekend here or there. Can I sneak in some racing? Let's hope. But the obviously the work is paramount for us. It's amazing opportunity to grow.
Now, I think we've got this through this chat already in terms of what excites you. But um, what what really excites you about being in this industry? You came back from retirement. You talked about the AI. You talked about the opportunity. But what's the sort of like big thing for you, whether it's personally or professionally? But over the next 2 3 years, what excites you?
Yeah. So for me, what I've done throughout my career, I mean, everybody does this in their career arc, is you're building experience upon experience, over time, and you're integrating it and applying it in new areas. And something that you've done at a large scale at a place like Intel, the ability to grow a business, the ability to grow something from kind of the green shoots that is at memory architecture, and redefining uh, how AI is going to be deployed in the world, and the impact that it's going to have on people. Uh, Extremely motivating. And the thing that you bring to it, and where we have focus, is one, how it gets done, um, plotting the market and customer focus, and looking at how the team delivers across different technical domains in particular. And that is much of the how we work, what we deliver, who we deliver it with over the next 2 3 years is very formative for us, is very formative for the industry. I talked about many new technologies like UCIe come into play, which are how we can play a role as a chiplet provider in partnering with other people. Something that at a big company like Intel, there's a lot of chiplets, right? It's kind of different IP providers, different silicon within that you bring in to do a mobile processor. Actually, I did that in partnership with sometimes collaborators, sometimes competitors to do new products. Using cutting edge packaging technologies. All that are things that over the next 2 3 years for Untether are kind of right in our wheelhouse, and we're, I think, going to be in the forefront with our focus on AI acceleration, doing it in a way that we think is leading edge and leading class in terms of efficiency, is something that puts us in a great position to partner and drive results with new technologies like we're seeing with UCIe and packaging technologies.
Okay, let's the final question I always ask my guests is, what would you advise a young Chris, or a young version of you, whether it's upcoming students or children? I mean, you have a daughter, so
Yeah.
what's the advice that you'd give? Whether it's professionally, personally, whatever.
I think it works both professionally and personally. Is continue to focus on your network, always be listening and learning. What I found was amazing is the amount of generosity of time and intellect, key formative people I had in both career and in life will have. You show an interest and listen. The amount of whiteboard sessions on architecture I've had, it's just been amazing. The amount in your personal life in sailing where In some cases I sail on crews that are amateurs like myself and professionals. The amount of learning you do by engaging but listening. You know, don't come with the answer, come with the questions, right? And that's true of business, that's true of personal. Uh, I would say, I've done that well. I would have loved to, 20 years have done that more, right? And so that's always for me. That's what things I tell my daughter is, you just always be inquisitive, right? And
Okay.
people will share or more than generous with their time and expertise, and to give that back yourself.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, Chris, thank you very much, and good luck.
Yeah, amazing talking to you. Thanks so much.